season.
It's a hot one at TCO Stadium. It's also Amplifying Black Voices Night here in Eagan. Stick around after the break to find out more. Welcome back to TCO Stadium. It's Amplifying Black Voices Night here in Eagan. Tonight, we welcome Lena Oyanaji here on behalf of our Black Lives Matter scarf designer, Gerald Spencer Jr., for our honorary coin toss for our Black Lives Matter celebration. In honor of this night and to celebrate all the joy that comes from the Black experience, we are pleased to showcase this scarf. And what great scarves those are, as the coin toss taking place here at TCO Stadium. A hot one in Eagan, Minnesota, just outside the Twin Cities. Aurora record crowd on hand, nearly 7,000 at TCO Stadium, and they are in for a hot one. 89 degrees, about 10 degrees hotter down there on the pitch, so the players in for a warm one today as well. You saw the humidity and the roughly 50% range. A reminder, it is Amplifying Black Voices Night, presented by St. Paul and Minnesota Foundation, and we take a look at some of our other partners. A Mother's Love, George Floyd Global Memorial, the Brass Solidarity Band, Until We Are All Free, Biking with Baddies, Tubman, The Link, and Black Garnet Books. A significant thank you to all of our partners here for what is such an important evening at TCO Stadium. Time to take a look at the starting 11 for both sides, presented by St. Paul College. A look at how Minnesota lines up. A couple changes. We see Christelle Yewa in there. What do you like about the way Minnesota lining up today, Danny?
Well, I think Coach Lukic has said it all season. She loves being able to switch up the starting 11. You never know what you're going to get. Tonight it looks like they're going back to a 4-5-1 sort of formation, 2 holding mids. Christelle Yewa is obviously stepping in for Maya Hansen up top, which will be really unique. She has had a wonderful season, but Maya Hansen has been the top goal scorer on the team so far this year. So I think Coach Lukic is wanting to get some other people some goals as we go into the last home game here.
Also saw Jelena Zbilic there in the starting 11. As for Chicago City, they will give Lauren Kaiser, the redshirt sophomore out of Santa Rosa Beach, Florida, the nod in net. She has 4 clean sheets this season, Danny. She's seen the most time in net. Obviously a formidable foe in goal for Minnesota.
Yeah. In general, Chicago City is a formidable foe, if you will, for Minnesota Aurora. As I said in the beginning, they are really familiar with each other. Not only have they played already this season, but they were one of the teams that had played last season as well and gave Minnesota Aurora a really good run for their money. So this has become a little bit of a derby. And this year, Chicago City has played even better and obviously has come out as the second team in the Heartland Division as the wild card going into playoffs. So this game is really important for both teams going into postseason to kind of get, this is our last chance to know who we're going to be going into postseason.
Chicago City tied for the 8th best win improvement this year. A +3 win improvement as we are off and running at TCO Stadium between these two Heartland Division foes. It is the final day of the regular season as Langdock will bring it up on the near side. Kaiser will wave everyone off, and it's back into her gloves. Kaiser, the .40 goals against average, nearly 85% save percentage. The 10's University of Illinois Chicago was a Missouri Valley second teamer last season as Morgan Stone comes up with that ball.
Chicago City did a really good job in the offseason of putting together a little bit more of a strategy around who they wanted to comprise their team of this year. They brought in a ton of Division I athletes that are really, really talented, that had wonderful college seasons this last season. And now it's really showed because they've brought up the level of play, I think, substantially from last year to this year.
Bouncing balls. Bielich couldn't corral that one in. Going back to the roster construction, though, just 2 high school players, 3 counting Molly Vapinski, who is not in net today, but on the game day roster, you look at some of these teams. I mean, you have Rowan Lappy, who attended Northwestern for 4 years, was an all Big Ten selection and a United Soccer coach's pick. A lot of that starts with the coaching staff. Brought in Lakeisha Gums, the former Leicester City women's reserve coach. She now in her first year, and she's really done a good job of turning this program around.
Yeah, absolutely. You can tell there's strategy behind what she's trying to do.
As that ball whipped in, defender to it first, and a short clearance. That from Abby Roy. It'll skitter across the touchline and out for a throw.
Last year, Chicago City, because Chicago City is a club that sits atop a youth team as a youth club as well, a lot of times you'll see those clubs comprised of players from Chicago City, the youth club, and a lot of teams, those players will just be playing up. But this year, they did take a step outside of that, go recruit players from other places, try to bring them in from, college, post-college, bring them in from out of state. And again, you can tell that was a strategy, and it's worked well for them.
Dangerous ball rolled back to the center back. Chicago losing ground. City desperately trying to clear the lines here as Rapp applies pressure.
great job by City of playing out of that high press. We have talked the whole season about how Coach Lukic's mentality has been press high up the field, make defense a part of our offense. If we win it close to goal, then it can turn into a goal-scoring opportunity. Minnesota Aurora just applied that pressure, and Chicago City was really able to play out of that through their midfield. It unfortunately went out of bounds, but really good play there by them.
Slow rolling ball through. Rapp, it's an onside play. Coated well defensively. Solid job for City. That looked to be Abby Roy again, and City SC able to clear it away. Harris will catch up to this and steer it back to Amanda Pourball, getting the nod and goal once again for Minnesota. An .813 save percentage this year for Pourball.
She hasn't been tested all that much, but when she has shown up wonderfully. Made some really big saves throughout the season.
Into the middle to Stone. Stone fights off that challenge initially. Now Zbilic. I'll say out off of Aurora, meaning a Chicago throw. Scratch that. Aurora will have the throw. Jasmine Castanon looked ready to toss it in. Instead, it's Langdock.
Christelle Yewa is holding a little bit higher, or I guess lower up the field than Maya Hansen typically does. Maya kind of sits up high on the back line and then will check into it. Christelle's holding back a little bit, which is actually allowing midfielders to run in behind already. It's how Minnesota Aurora has had a couple breakthrough runs so far. Obviously nothing has turned into goals, but it's been good runs there. So a little bit of a different just strategy from the front line of Minnesota Aurora today.
Good sliding challenge, able to disrupt that. Now another defender comes in, and Rapp stays down. That will be a free kick for Minnesota. Always dangerous when the defender comes in from behind like that.
Yeah, good job to draw the foul there, but yes, it is a dangerous play. Always hard as you're trying to shield the player off, and they do a slide tackle like that. It can kind of throw you off. Luckily, doesn't look like there's too many injuries coming from it.
Stone will take this from about 30 yards out. As we say, look at the replay there. Defender just slid in from behind. And Stone couldn't play it on net. Out for a goal kick.
Looked like she was trying just to clip that into the far post, but not enough time getting the ball up and down quick enough for the players to get in and try to get ahead on the ball. Just a little bit too fast.
Aurora enter winners of 11 consecutive matches. It ties their longest regular season win streak in franchise history with last year. After tying in the opening match, won 11 straight. Still have yet to lose in the regular season. Langdock has it, a step inside the line, and they'll play it back to Tiana Harris.
Atypical giveaway there by Tiana Harris twice.
As Pourball comes out, ball hanging in the air. A real chance for Chicago City.
Yes, very out of character there by Tiana Harris, making one mistake and then another right after that. Tiana is usually, the center back that is the go-to, confident on the ball. So definitely atypical to see mistakes like that. Luckily, no harm done there, but you wonder if it is just tired legs. She did have a break in the last game. She did not start, kind of got a break, but now working her way back into it. It's always tough. It's hot today, so working their way into it still.
A couple of weeks ago, you referred to her as the human reset button for this team. As that ball out of the reach of Kat Rapp. Kafusi They'll head it back to pour ball. Chicago City enters off the heels of a 4-0 win away against Rochester FC. That avenged a surprising 1-0 loss home against the Loons earlier this year. It also gives Chicago City their 5th clean sheet of the year. That's the 4th most in the Eastern Conference.
That's really impressive for Chicago City. They have done a lot this season.
Rapp breaks through, can't catch up to it, and a smart read by Kaiser, who dives on it to end the danger.
And this starts with the run from Christelle Yewa actually coming across the defense. Her center back actually followed her out there, which opened up a gap for Cat Rapp to be able to slide in behind. Wonderful run there and read by each other. If the ball had a little bit less pace on it, I think that would have been a goal.
Harris surveys her options. Now Stone over to Kafusi. Was looking for Wynn instead. That will find Callie Chiarelli. And it will be a Minnesota throw.
Mariah Wynn there doing great job coming back defending, even though the ball had already gone past her. She's such a fun player to watch. She has always so much energy, both going forward and defensively. And then when she's on the ball, she's so creative. She's one of my favorite players to watch this season.
Wynn with the interception and the little flick on back to her from Yewa. Yewa couldn't corral it in, and Chicago City able to win it back. Sort of a bend but don't break mentality early on for this Chicago back line. Aurora progressing up the field, but once they get to that final third, that back line has really responded.
Yeah, Chicago City's back line is really compact right now, which making it hard for Minnesota Aurora to try to break it down. We've talked about it all season where if there was a team that could weather the first 20 minutes of Minnesota Aurora, I think it would be a really challenging game for Aurora to try to find some rhythm after that, because they are so good at coming out with such high energy, scoring goals right off the bat, and then once they have that momentum, just continuing to score goals. So Chicago City might be giving them a little bit of a run for their money in that.
That's something that Xcaret Pineda, the midfielder for City SC, talked about ahead of the first matchup this season. She said, we know they're a really good team. They're super athletic. They're going to come out hard. We just need to keep working on high pressing, keeping possession, and try to block their shots. They're cognizant of it, too. Minnesota, they are very much so a we want to jump on you early type team.
Very much. You can tell it's in the mentality of everything they do. Coach Lukic talks about it time and time again. I think that's something that she hangs her hat on, and it does allow for you to have a little bit more freedom as a team. Once you score a goal, it's sort of like, okay, we've got that piece done. Now we can figure out what else we want to do, and it's not like the pressure of now we have to keep scoring, right? So there's a little bit of a mentality there that I think is unique to Minnesota Aurora. We haven't yet seen them be really tested late in a game without scoring a goal. That, you know, they've usually scored within at least 30 minutes. So it's going to be, I think that's something that will be different going into postseason that they haven't seen yet.
Aurora will have the throw on the far side. For Minnesota, should they find a way to win this match, they would become the first ever USLW team to close a regular season, as Yewa slow behind the play, First ever USLW team to close a regular season without a loss or a draw. That's so impressive to think about for this franchise in just their second season.
Yeah, it is really impressive. I think now it's become a part of their culture. That's how they identify, that's how they see themselves, is like, we are a winning team and we are going to win at all costs. So, I think they've only really been tested a few times in the history of the club at a point where it's like, okay, this game is actually giving us a real challenge. That's what the postseason is all about, I suppose.
Tampa Bay United could join them. They kick off in about 3 hours from now as ball cleared away. And it appears as though we have a foul.
I will say so far not a ton of rhythm in this game, either side. It's kind of a lot of bouncing around like this, some mistakes here and there, but there hasn't been a ton of possession going either direction. It's very physical. You can see back and forth. There's been already a number of fouls called. I think that, both these teams want to come out. They want to win, so that energy is going to probably slow throughout the game, but I would like to see a little bit more calmness, a little bit more rhythm, a little bit more possession from either side.
You talk about calmness. One player who is extremely calm is Kaiser, who we just saw in net. She is very confident, not afraid to come way away from her home and go grab something like that and end any even sniff of danger.
Yeah, that's something we've seen from both keepers. Amanda Porbot shows similar things, which I think is really it's a really unique and good skill that you want to have in your keepers, is somebody who feels confident coming off the line, somebody who can be almost an 11th, or an actual 11th like field player. There's a little jersey pull there, just stopping Zabilic from trying to get behind her. I agree. I do think that is a card. You can't pull the jersey like that. You'll see it just right there, grabbing her, holding her back. Yep, definitely a card. I think that's a good call by the ref.
6th time this year a City SC player has gone into the book. Kafusi skies that one in, bouncing around before dropping into the gloves of Kaiser. The first time around Minnesota faced Chicago, they matched up with Molly Vapinski, who a high schooler out of Evanston, Illinois. A solid season, 1.25 goals against average, but Kaiser presents a different challenge. Lots of length in goal, 6 feet tall. Really closes off a lot of angles as players get tied up, and a foul given to City.
That foul was mostly because she was playing on the ground. You can't play on the ground like that, especially when there's players around you. So just once she goes down here, she's still trying to play while she's on the ground, and that's why it's a foul. And this is really the first time that we have seen Aurora trying to keep possession around the back. And typically this is something that we would have seen way more at this point in the game. I don't know if that's because they just are doing higher pressure up the field. It's just not something they have looked to so far. I feel like there's been more sort of through balls than we typically see as well into the back line. So maybe they're just trying to get that goal as early as they can. But there hasn't been too much like possession around the back yet.
Do you think the heat, especially the elevated temperature on the pitch, has anything to do with maybe the sloppiness, the slowness of play for both teams?
Oh, for sure. I think there's no doubt. I can tell you from my own experience playing on a field, when it's 90 degrees out, the center of the field is probably an additional 15 degrees to 20 degrees even added on your feet, which makes it hard. Your feet are hot. It's hard to pass. It's hard to think straight. You get tired more quickly. So yes, I absolutely do think that has a part to do with it. in saying that, the solution is going to be to slow the game down, to make it easier on yourself, to keep possession, and not try to pick your moments when you're going forward, not trying to go forward 100% of the time.
Here's Langdock with it. Plenty of space to move. A little too much on that ball. Was looking for Zbilic. It's out for a Minnesota throw. Tried to thread the needle to Rapp. Stone picks up the pieces. Too strong on that cross as it falls through, and Chicago City will have a throw.
Great run there by Morgan Stone, though. Wonderful first touch to get to the end line. If she puts this ball back across the end line on the ground rather than, and that's really hard because she is falling outside, but if she puts that on the ground, really, really dangerous. There's players coming back, so that can even cause an own goal off the defensive team. But good hustle by her there nonetheless.
City tried to clear it away, intercepted by Wickers. During our weekly catch-up with Aurora head coach Nicole Lukic, she said one of the keys that she'd like to see her team take care of today is composure when they're on the ball. Going back to a point you made earlier, we really haven't seen a whole lot of that. I mean, we just saw it a minute ago, even with Langdock struggling to corral that ball in. Just very minute things that not looking as sharp early on.
Well, it almost looked like she wanted to hit that one time back to Tiana Harris, and then ended up being Tiana was doing something else, so kind of going in a different direction.
Here's Wynn, gives it up to Stone. Wickers invited to shoot over the bar.
That's really the first good shot on goal I think we've seen from Minnesota Aurora. It was the first real space that we've seen created. Good pass by Morgan Stone there. Wonderful strike by Wickers. Keep that down, find a post. Even if it's on the ground, that's a really, really difficult shot to save, especially for a goalie who's 6 foot. Hard to get down to the ground. But, again, good build-up by Minnesota Aurora. I think we're finally starting to see a little bit of what we like to see from Minnesota Aurora typically.
City will work it around to this near side. And ridden off the ball by Zbilic. That will be a foul and a free kick given.
I thought that was a pretty clean tackle by Zbilic there, actually. She got pretty good ball. Good footwork there by Castanon. Really good turn. Drew the foul by Zbilic, but I thought that was actually a pretty good tackle.
Alexi Diaz slowly approaching. Tried to thread that through, and it was read well by Harris.
Good clearance by Harris. If she would have missed that, there was actually a player on Chicago City standing on the back post, unmarked there. So
Morgan Stone having words with the official, and it looks like a foul will go against Stone, meaning a free kick. A pretty advantageous spot here for Chicago City, within striking distance for sure.
Yeah, right up the middle of the field. I don't think Amanda Porbosh should have any issue with a strike from this distance. That's not to say that you couldn't hit a banger, but it's more the second ball at this point that you need to be worried about.
Castanon able to settle it at least for a moment and find Zidzik. Zidzik wanted to play a teammate through. Thought she had Brianna Rodriguez. Instead, it found the foot of Kafusi. And poor ball sends it forward.
Another thing that Coach Lukic has talked about at length is being more confident in 50-50 balls on set pieces and winning balls in the air. So off of Amanda Porbaugh's long clearance there, both Christelle Yewa, Morgan Stone, Kat Rapp, none of them were on the end of it. Ended up Chicago City winning that and coming right back down the throat of Minnesota Aurora, making it really difficult for them.
That ball whipped in. Porbaugh's was there. Nicole Lukic mentioned it, that Chicago City in the first matchup came out with that high press. She said she really felt like it gave Minnesota issues in the first half, and they figured it out at the halftime break going into the second half. We're seeing City utilize a little bit of that high press again, and it's having some success.
Yeah, I don't actually feel like the high press is too high up on the defense, on like the back line. I think it's actually more, they're holding higher on the midfielders and holding Christelle Yewa higher up the field. There's not a ton of room to play in behind them or in front of them, just because they're keeping the field so compact. So it's not necessarily even like high press up the field. I feel like it's more high press just all over, including high press of energy, if you will.
Wynn able to disrupt that. Now Yewa 1-on-3. Rapp tries to join the rush and just couldn't get played through in enough time. It is out for a Minnesota corner.
Good counterattack there, just relieving some pressure going forward. I think that's a great choice by Christelle Yewa here to turn and run herself, just to allow everybody, get up, come with me, let's get up the field. Kat Rapp can do her thing. Good try. I don't think it was quite enough there, but again, good try by them.
It was actually a Minnesota throw in, just stayed to the other side of that corner flag. Nonetheless, it is back to City SC. Turnover in a bad spot. Aurora takes over. Rapp shakes free and glove down. Lauren Kaiser, another stop early for the redshirt sophomore keeper.
And that actually came from good defensive pressure by Minnesota Aurora, winning it back, like you said, in a dangerous area, turning, getting a shot on goal. Christelle Yewa actually was in a good position to receive a pass as well. Kat Rapp did a good job of just taking it herself. I think we're starting to see a little bit more creativity from the attacking players off Aurora now.
Wynn shakes off one challenge. And a second. Ball's free. Shot sent forward as Yewa is still down inside the penalty area. And that will bring about a stoppage to play. That's the second time now we've seen Christelle Yewa banged up.
A good couple difficult plays here. Mariah Wynn battling it out there. Christelle Yewa, big touch there, trying to get it kind of out from her feet there. Zbilic, I think, could have taken a touch there. This is when I'm talking about her, or the Minnesota Aurora's mentality right now that is a little bit chaotic, a little bit frantic, it feels like. That's exactly an example of it. I think that's a time where she could have taken a touch, tried to beat a defender, getting the ball on the ground, and then maybe getting a shot, rather than taking a one-time quick shot that just is blasted over the goal.
Take a look at our Larkin Hoffman rules of the game. It's time for a hydration break at TCO Stadium. We've talked about it a lot. It's very hot here, very humid-ish, and you see these players wasting no opportunity at getting a break. It seems obvious, but what is the importance of the hydration break, Danny?
Well, these are so important. Not only is it a good time for the players to be able to cool down their bodies, get some rest. You actually see a couple players taking off their shoes and socks because I think the field is that hot, and I can tell you it really does get that hot, especially on turf. The turf actually adds another 15, 20 degrees, and the bottom of your feet really feel like they're on fire sometimes. So this is a good opportunity for them to try to, take a second to cool down. But it's also a really good time for the coaching staff to sort of get everybody together and recalibrate what's going on right now. I hope that we see some changes just in terms of mentality and even like calmness across the field for Minnesota Aurora. It just feels very frantic right now. So I'm sure Coach Lukic and her whole staff is saying, like, let's calm down, let's keep possession, let's get our heads back underneath us, and then let's go forward from here.
Mentioned it a few minutes ago, Minnesota seeking a 12-0-0 regular season. Tampa Bay United as well. They'll kick off at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Looking at the latest USLW power rankings, Aurora fans will find a familiar name atop those power rankings. Minnesota number 1 in the USLW ranks for the first time this year, and see Courage behind them. San Francisco Glens, Tampa Bay United, and Flint City AFC breaking into the top 5 of the power rankings. That's significant because both of these teams will head to Flint next week. Flint City awarded the Central Conference hosting bid for the opening 2 rounds.
Yeah, Aurora has been chasing that number 1 spot all season. I think they've been chasing because the Glens specifically have been such a high-scoring team, and they actually started their season earlier on, so they had a couple other games under their belts before Minnesota Aurora even was able to play a game. So they really have been actually chasing it. Now that the end of the season is here, Minnesota Aurora finally got that number 1 spot, and I think it was a nice surprise to see Flint FC as well in that, breaking into it, just because it is another Midwest local team.
Flint City 8-0-3 entering the week. Talk about the goal scoring. Minnesota atop the USLW in that regard as well. 53 goals, just 4 conceded.
Yeah, that's a very, very impressive stat.
I was about to say, those are mind-bending statistics when you say it out loud.
They really are. 53 goals in a relatively short season is just unheard of. These women went after it time and time again and were relentless in their goal-scoring mission.
The 4 goals conceded, the 3rd fewest allowed in the USLW. Tampa Bay United, well, they've only given up 1 goal all year.
Wow, that's actually astounding. Almost more than, almost never hear that. It's as many as like 53 goals for is like, that's the equivalent of 1 goal against. I mean, that is really, really impressive. Clearly makes it hard for you to be beaten if you don't give up any goals ever.
Indy 11 has also given up only 3 this season. As that headed away momentarily, now Yewa will settle on it and cleared away by Castanon. Indy 11 grabbing headlines this week. In fact, yesterday, beating St. Charles FC 16-0. Been a rough week if you're a St. Charles fan. Lost 9-0 to Racing Louisville earlier in the week, and then 16-0 to Indy 11. Those are 2 very strong teams atop the Valley Division.
Yeah, those are tough scores, that's for sure. Is 16? That's got to be the most amount of goals so far.
It is.
Yeah.
We've seen 10, we've seen 11, we've seen 13, and then Indy 11 said, hold on, wait a minute, we want to get in on this. That's actually significant, too, because St. Charles FC, they were the team that handed Indy 11 their first ever regular season loss just a few weeks ago. Talk about responding in kind.
They had something to prove there, I suppose.
Kaiser waves players forward, and now we'll send it forward. I was looking for Sophia Jaime. Instead, it's out, and Minnesota will take over with the throw.
And this game is probably one of the first games that we have seen not that many attacking opportunities from either side, really. There's been a few, as we said, but not a ton. It's been very much a game of midfield and of sort of dispossession moments or mistakes. It's not really been a tale of either side at this point.
Now Rapp plays Yewa through, and Kaiser is there. Yewa couldn't get a great first touch on it.
Yewa is actually kind of reaching there as she was shooting. If she kind of just continued to run through the ball, even take an extra touch here. What a wonderful pass by Kat Rapp into the space, into the stride of Christelle Yewa even. Christelle kind of reached for it, as I said, just not able to get enough on it.
Stone's attempt is blocked, and Langdock will pick up the pieces. Aurora still on it. Rapp over the bar. Minnesota starting to string some things together now. 4 shots for Aurora, 2 chances on goal.
That is exactly where Kat Rapp wants the ball. What a great turn by her there. Kept the ball close to her foot. It was almost like a touch step and then a strike. She got a little bit underneath it, just lifted it over the crossbar there, but a really, really good strike, and that's exactly where she wants to be, receiving the ball in front of the goal.
Chicago City will have a free kick after the foul.
I will say a little bit of an unnecessary foul there by Abby Ostrom, just giving Chicago City an out, a place for them to be able to play rather than, just keeping the ball in front of her, not necessarily having to give up that foul in that position. Now Chicago City's played into the attack without actually having created anything at all.
Soto will throw this one in from the far side. Trying to jumpstart this Chicago attack, and City will throw it in again, this time a little further down the pitch. Good spot here for Chicago City.
Yeah, dangerous area for sure. This all is just coming off of throw-ins, just inching up further up the field.
City will have the throw again. We've played over a half hour in this contest. No score, only 5 combined shots. Somewhat of a far cry from the first half for both these teams compared to their previous matches. Minnesota, the first 20 minutes against Green Bay, 4 shots on goal, 3 corners. Chicago City had 8 shots on goal in the first half of their previous match against Rochester FC. These two teams early on proving to be a solid foil for one another.
Yeah, this is definitely it's been a fun game to watch so far, just because it has been a little bit of a chess match. Messy at times, but very back and forth. And I wanted to call out really quickly, really, really great play by Chicago City's keeper there. A little chest volley to her defender under the pressure of Christelle Yewa. Just really, really good play.
Aurora will have their first corner of the match. They lead the Heartland in corners. And swinger Harris got to it first. Another set-piece goal for Minnesota on their 93rd corner of the season.
And Coach Lukic has to be so pleased with this goal. Their first corner kick of the night, that was actually Morgan Stone, I believe, off the head of Morgan Stone. They were, Tiana Harris and Morgan Stone were right there. I think either one of them would have had it, but a wonderful, wonderful header by Morgan Stone in the back of the net. Just no chance for Chicago City's keeper there. As I said, I know Coach Lukic is so pleased with that.
Even when things seem to not be going their way, they go Minnesota's way. They find a way. 1-0 at the restart in favor of Aurora. They've now outscored their opponents 54-4 this season.
And I think you said it right. They find a way. That is always what Minnesota Aurora does. They just are relentless in goal scoring. They never seem too worried about the fact that they will score. It's never been a question of if Minnesota Aurora score today. It is always a question of when and how many.
I posed this question to Nicole Lukic earlier this week. How do you keep your team motivated knowing you're going to the playoffs, you've locked up the division? And she said it's the maturity of this team. And I think part of that never say die attitude comes from the maturity of this team.
Yeah, this team is very mature in comparison to last season as well. Even though a lot of the team was comprised of the same players, you can just feel a little bit more maturity in the fact that they've played together. They know what to expect from Coach Lukic. They've put together a game strategy that has worked. It worked last season. They're just honing it in and improving it this season. You can see everybody's bought into that message, and I think because of that, it just comes with, the maturity of the team that we're going to all follow this and we're going to do it.
Yewa able to draw the foul and win the free kick for Langdock in Minnesota. This has been a physical contest in this first half, closing in on the halftime whistle.
And sometimes the physicality of a game and the energy levels of the game and the outside factors like the heat or the crowd that you're playing in front of, those all can be things that could throw off the game. And I think going back again to the maturity of the team has still felt composed in even these moments, even when things aren't going the way that they want them to be going, and they have all these other things outside of just playing that they have to deal with. And yet they have always found a way, and that does speak to the maturity, the composure, the level of just, I think, professionalism that these women are displaying every day.
Ziedzik goes forward with it to Whiteside. Now here's Castanon. Chicago City will recycle that ball over to Soto. Now Yewa. Numbers here for Minnesota. Cross was deflected. And Castanon, the smart play to just clear it out and take the pressure off, at least for a moment.
I think we saw some tired legs there just now from Christelle Yewa. Just a little bit out of character there, not going for goal herself, trying to pass that off, and then not willing really to get on the end of it again. Just a little bit of a tired leg. She's put in a lot of work this first 40 minutes and has had a really physical game for herself even so far.
Aurora will change the angle of the attack. Kafusi to Langdock. Plays Rapp through. Rapp goes down in the box. No whistle.
That was actually a really, really solid tackle. I think a good no call by the ref there. It was really ball on ball. Obviously, both players went down. It was a strong tackle, but I don't think enough for a foul. So good no call there.
Aurora quickly take the throw as Yewa shot blocked. Minnesota was looking for a handball inside the box. Won't get it as City clears it away. Ostrom dancing through.
I do think we are seeing tired legs from a lot of players right now, or probably just hot feet as well, not wanting to make that extra run. You know, it does make it really difficult when your feet are really hot to change directions as well. So sometimes that like quick change of pace or quick turn makes it really hard when it is this hot out. So I think we're starting to see that trickle in, because it's kind of some uncharacteristic like slowdowns rather than players doing everything they can to follow up on every ball here just in the last couple of minutes. I mean, it makes sense. So
City progressing forward nicely here. That will fizzle out just at the last moment. Rapp's pass behind Yewa, couldn't corral it in. And they will play it back to Lauren Kaiser. Rapp able to win that back. Now here's Stone with it. Langdock, plenty of space to move. Langdock. Flicked in. And a little too much weight behind that. It's out for a goal kick. A solid build-up, though, for Minnesota.
Yeah, great run by Mackenzie Langdock. That was almost solo run from the back line there. Came from Morgan Stone in the midfield. Mackenzie Langdock probably covered 60 yards there just herself before passing it off. A wonderful run in times like this when everybody else's legs are tired. That's an okay thing that you want to see your outside backs do. You know, get something going and letting everybody else rest, just kind of drift forward, get in front of the goal and create an opportunity without it having to put too much energy on everybody else.
Wickers will play it back to Kafusi.
Also, I would bet that Mackenzie Langdock is one of the more fit players on this team. She is just a ball of energy always. She's constantly running, constantly getting forward and back on defense as well. She's covering so much ground, and she does it consistently.
Here's Chicago City trying to develop a counterattack. Langdock using the body there to cut off the space to run. A turnover, though, for Minnesota. That's the second or third time we've seen Minnesota struggle to keep possession in this end of things, and it results in another City throw.
Yeah, just a couple small mistakes that can be really dangerous and crucial little mistakes from the back line. Your center backs almost have to be players who are who make the least amount of mistakes when they have the ball, even more than forwards. Where it's just a little bit less risky, so it's encouraged for them to take more risks, to get at players, to try new things. But from your center backs, you want to see oftentimes a little bit more simple play, 1-2 touch, pass, get it back, and that's about it.
Long ball forward. Soto first to it. And it's Wickers now to Zbilic. Ball played back through to Wickers. Out for a Minnesota corner.
We are actually into added time here. So we will see. We didn't get a look to see how many minutes were added here, but we are past the 45-minute mark at this point.
Outswinging ball. As Langdock has a go of it, and that goes significantly wide. The whistle sounds. After a minute of stoppage time, a 1-0 lead for Minnesota through 45 minutes of play. After an uneven opening first half, Aurora finally break through thanks to Morgan Stone we head to break here on Fox 9 Plus. The halftime report on the other side.
Aurora fans, you're watching the Fox 9 Plus halftime report.
Hi, and welcome in to the Fox 9 Plus Minnesota Aurora halftime update. I'm Ahmad Hicks. A great first half, and we'll be certain to get you back out to the action here shortly. Now, obviously, we're at halftime of the season finale against Chicago City as the Aurora have their sights set on the playoffs and securing the championship later this year. It has been an exciting season for the Minnesota Aurora. Today's game against Chicago City has set a new league record for attendance. Get this, the nearly 7,000 seats sold is not only a league record, but a record for a non-Vikings event at TCO Stadium. A remarkable accomplishment for a team in its second season. And their run is just getting started. The Aurora have clinched a spot in the playoffs for the second straight year by winning the Heartland Division. The Aurora will now head to Flint, Michigan for the Central Conference playoffs. The round of 16 and quarterfinals will take place July 6th and July 9th. Now, let's switch gears. This team has talent, of course, but also chemistry. And there is one special ingredient that plays an integral role to their team bonding. We'll call it their drive to success. Don Mitchell has the story.
What's up, Steven? Good, how are you?
Good to see you.
Stephen Barry is more than Minnesota Aurora's beloved bus driver.
Oh, you're the star of the show now, Steven!
We're like family. So I consider myself like the granddaddy or whatever. You know, I just want to take care of them, make sure that they have whatever they need.
He is the heartbeat of this team.
And I know everybody. I know from every coach, every player, every one of them are gems. They're just incredible women. Oh, man. There you go. Hand is cold.
How Stephen got the gig, let alone rise from bus driver to proud and protective grandfather figure, is a story in and of itself, starting with an act of kindness listening to KFAN's Power Trip show.
There's a gentleman waiting on me when I get off the bus, and he says, "Sir, come with me. This is your bus." I said, "What?"
Chris Hockey lost a Super Bowl bet on his Power Trip show and had to take a bus back from Vegas where they were doing the show. He was tweeting about how horrible the experience on a different bus line was. So Stephen and Jefferson Lines decided to surprise Chris in Omaha and take over the rest of the ride.
Complimentary ticket, express route, Chris Hockey 33119 Omaha to Minneapolis from Jefferson Lines.
So we decided that we would intercept the bus in Omaha. And so we brought him a brand new bus because we didn't want him coming back in a bad bus, and we wanted to give him a good treatment, show him what a good bus company is. We had some refreshments on the bus, a pizza for Chris, and we were ready to rock.
So when Aurora co-founder and president Andrea Yock was looking for a bus driver, Hawk knew a guy.
She talked to Chris, and he said that, recommended Jefferson Lines. And then he said, well, get Stephen Barry, too.
Stephen is their lucky charm. He's on the bench for every game. The football guy who never watched soccer before meeting this team is now in love with it, and his Aurora team as well.
My dad, when I was growing up, we could always hear him. My friends, when we were sitting on the bench during high school over there, they say, "There's Mr. Barry," because he could hear him playing. So I feel like I'm like my dad now. They can hear. They say, "I can hear you out there on the, cheering." I'm like, so I'm cheering. I'm calling them by their name and saying, "Go, go, put it in,"
You're almost like another coach out there in a way,
I feel
right?
like I feel like I'm coach, that I should be a coach. And everybody's like, every time they come off the bench, we're a high five each other, and it's just been really a joy to be around them.
So what started out as a job has become something far more special.
They just make me feel just like, I'm a part of their experience, because we're all doing this. It's a brand new experience for every one of us. And they just make me feel like, we can't do it without you, or we want you to be a part of it. And I want to be a part of it too. I'm a part of them, and they're a part of me.
What a great story. Much more to come on the Aurora Halftime Report here on Fox 9 Plus, including a look at one of the team's best players and the journey that led her here to Minnesota.
Aurora fans, you're watching the Fox 9 Plus Halftime Report.
Welcome back. When you attend a Minnesota Aurora game, it doesn't take long to notice the talent they have on display. Now, one member who can't stay out of our highlights happens to be Hannah Adler. Whether she's netting goals or dishing out assists, there's not much she can't do. The former pro player in Israel and Denmark explains what brought her to the Twin Cities and the mark she's trying to leave.
So you've had quite the decorated career so far. Why did you necessarily want to come play here in Minnesota and further your career outside of just the good atmosphere you've heard of the team?
Right, yeah. I mean, I think there were a lot of different reasons. You know, I actually have never really played under a female staff before, so that was something that was really big for me, was being able to grow and learn from female leaders as well, because I also aspire to be a coach, so I thought it was going to be something really important for me to learn under them. And you know, I could see that it was a really competitive environment, and I felt like I would continue to grow and learn as a player. So,
when the summers are over here, what do you hope to accomplish, or what do you hope to do with your soccer career?
Yeah, that is a good question. I think I just want to keep continuing to play as long as I can and keep just continuing to have fulfilling experiences. I think that's what I really want out of my soccer career. So,
growing up as a kid, did you ever envision yourself in this moment being able to play all the places that you've played and traveled all the places you traveled?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know if I envisioned to go so many different places for sure. I think it was really cool to be able to see so many women before me kind of carve out these different paths, and without seeing some of those different paths, I don't know if I would have aspired to do those things. So I'm really grateful for the people that had it kind of hard and figured out the different ways to continue to play. So, yeah.
What has the game given you that you didn't think that you would be able to get if you didn't play a sport?
Ooh, that is a good question. I think that, you know, soccer is great, like the skills and technique and all of that, I love it. But for me, it's almost not about soccer. It's almost about like, just you learn to work together with a team and have leadership and just a sense of community, and yeah, there are just all these different things that you learn through being on a team that I think are invaluable. Yeah.
Having the experience that you do have right now, going through all that you went through, do any of the girls on the team kind of lean on you for experience to say, hey, how do I get through this college season? Or how do I pursue a professional career after college and all that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still fairly new here, but yeah, I've definitely had some of those conversations with some of the younger players. But you know, we're all here now, so it's also cool to share this new experience all together.
Growing up, when you were a kid, what did you tell yourself you wanted to be when you got older? And if you could go back to those days when you were a kid, would you be proud of where you are now?
Yeah, I wanted to be a professional soccer player, so I think that little me would be very proud of, you know, everything I've done so far. And sometimes we forget that, for sure. Sometimes we forget that, you know, the younger version of ourselves would be like, wow, that's amazing that you're even there, you know. So I think that I would be very proud of the stuff that I've done.
That's Hannah Adler, one of your star Minnesota Aurora players. As promised, we have to get back to the action, so that's going to do it for the Aurora halftime report right here on Fox 9+. Let's go back to TCO Stadium for the second half between the Aurora and Chicago City SC.
We've played 45 minutes. We have 45 minutes to go. Minnesota leads 1-0 over Chicago City SC as we head into the second half. At the half, though, there was a special presentation. All season long, goals have been presented by Cultivated CBD, the charity goal. And today at the half, Cultivated CBD presented a check for $5,500 to A Mother's Love Foundation. Such an incredible just thing to be a part of all season long. I'm not sure going into the year that anyone thought that was going to be for $5,500, but Minnesota Aurora most definitely took care of that.
Yes, they were very happy to be presenting that large of a check for charity, for sure. And I'm sure Mother's Love was very happy about that.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of Minnesota Aurora, after an uneven first half, they finally found their goal thanks to Morgan Stone. Danny, your thoughts on that first half?
It was a little bit messy overall. I wouldn't say it was a great half by either team. However, Minnesota Aurora found a way. Wonderful goal by Morgan Stone off a corner kick from Addie Wickers. Great goal. There was a lot of opportunities for both sides. I don't think any opportunities were really dangerous opportunities. So I think, Morgan Stone's goal was the one that really made sense and made a difference last half.
The whistle sounds. We are back underway for the second half. 3 changes for Minnesota at the halftime. Maya Hansen in, Sophie French in, Rami Rapp in. Those 3 in place of Christelle Yewa, Yelena Zabilich, and Addie Wickers, respectively. During that first half, Danny, you talked a lot about Chicago doing a good job of really cluttering the field, so to speak. Now that they trail a goal, how do you foresee that mentality changing?
Well, they are going to have to find a way to start capitalizing off of the moments that they have in their attacking third specifically, even if that is coming off of good defense high up the field. They're going to have to find a way to start creating some chances that are actually dangerous. As I said just a minute ago, there was a lot of opportunities in the first half, but none that were really, really goal-scoring, dangerous opportunities. And I think that's something that Chicago City's going to need to start creating, again, whether it's from defense high up the field or from creating something in the attack. That's what they're going to have to do this half.
Minnesota outshot Chicago City 5-2 in that opening half. Aurora also with 2 corners.
I do think Chicago City did a really, really great job of just being disruptive.
Here's Rapp in the middle. Rami Rapp to win. Chip through, and Mariah Wynn doubles the advantage, but hold everything. The flag is up on the far side. A would-be second goal for Minnesota waved off.
Yeah, Mariah Wynn just drifting forward a little bit too much there, getting maybe a step in behind the defender there. If she would have just held back one step, I think she would have stayed on sides. Really good defense there by Chicago City to step up their line and catch Mariah Wynn off sides, but very close, good opportunity. I'm glad to see that Minnesota Aurora is trying to get at goal even 2 minutes in here. This is a little bit more common to what we've seen historically from Minnesota Aurora this season.
Aurora already back on it after the restart. For those of you watching at home that aren't here to take in this wonderful atmosphere, I think one of my favorite parts about the supporter section, as we have a whistle and a foul, there are R flags, and they drape them every time a Rapp comes in. There are, for those that don't know, 3 Rapp sisters on this team. So there are 2 R flags over on the far side that we see, awaiting the rare triple R for all 3 Rapps. I don't know. I find that so funny to me.
I love that.
Kafusi hangs that one in. It's still live and headed into the gloves of Lauren Kaiser.
Yes, the Rapp triplets are a fan favorite here. They were with the club last season as well, so I think the community has really embraced all three of them and wants to see them all be successful and obviously, bring each of their own unique talents to the field. So it is fun, and it speaks a lot to the community's involvement in the squad.
Wynn over to Hansen, looking for the cross.
Wow, that was as close as it could ever be for Maya Hansen there. Mariah Wynn, just a wonderful job to get down to the end line there. This is what I was saying when she's one of my favorite players to watch. Getting to the end line, she's so creative, she's so dynamic, beating players, getting to the end line, crossing back on the ground. Just such a good cross there, really dangerous position.
Aurora have scored off one corner today. Stone sends it in. And a little too strong behind it. It will go for a Kaiser goal kick. The run to set that up, though, from Mariah Wynn, she's like a wizard on the field, the way she can weave in and out.
She really is. Yeah, it's just, as I said, she's just so dynamic. I love watching her play. I think this season she has really come into her own. Last season she was confident. She wanted the ball at her feet, but this season I just feel like everybody's now looking for her and knows what to expect, and it's almost like the fans even get excited when she's on the ball.
A whistle and a foul. City will have the free kick.
The physicality is still coming across this half as well. Already seen a couple of fouls, and we're 5 minutes in.
Jaime shook off one challenge, able to shake off the one from Rapp. High press from Aurora first forces a turnover. French on it now. French tries to whip that one in, does, but Kaiser is there.
Talk about another dynamic player. Sophie French has played literally all over the field for Minnesota Aurora this season. We've seen her up top in the 9. We've seen her out wide on both the right and left side. We've seen her in the back, both as outside back and as a center back within this last game. So she really is a one player can play all kind of unicorn, if you will, and I think that's something Coach Lukic loves to see about her, because she can fill in anywhere, and that's really, really unique in a player.
Aurora quickly take the throw. She's a player who's come on stronger as the season has gone on. First match against Rochester came on late as a sub and has slowly but surely worked herself into more minutes, a larger role.
I couldn't agree more. I also think that you can see just in her confidence as well. I think she came in with really high expectations of herself and what this season would be for her. And I think that kind of translated in some of her shakiness. Just felt like there was a little bit of nerves.
Here's Hansen dancing through defenders. Ball caroms around, and Kaiser is there. That very well could have been an own goal.
Yes, that was very, very close. That's the danger of putting a ball on the ground at pace. Makes it really difficult for defenders to get a good clearance on the ball and can result in an own goal or at least a deflection even for a corner kick really, really easily. So the more that players like Mariah Wynn do that, the more dangerous Minnesota Aurora is. And I will say that's another mistake there by Tiana Harris. Not that I am tallying these up, but it's very uncommon for her to miss passes like that.
Wynn thought she had Rami Rapp. Now Wynn wins it back and Rapp on it. Was looking for French through the middle and instead finds the end line. That'll be a Kaiser goal kick again. .14 fixtures being played on this final Saturday of the regular season in the USLW. Only 2 other Heartland Division teams in action, Green Bay and Bavarian United, getting started in about 40 minutes. Bavarian turned in a solid first year in the USLW. They can finish no higher than 4th in the division table, I should say. Did lose to Green Bay earlier this year as free kick quickly taken.
That's an impressive result for them, though, given that it is their first season. They didn't really know what to expect, and most teams didn't know what to expect from Bavarian. But they have really come out and performed and given a lot of teams really solid challenges. Even if they lost the game, it was a really good match by Bavarian. So I'm excited to see what will come of that club in the future.
French couldn't run that down, but Pattinson makes the smart decision to dump it out. Off the throw, here's French. Crossed in. Hansen heads it back to the middle. Rapp was there, but the ball off the hand. And that will bring about an end to that for Minnesota.
Good run, good job by Maya Hansen to get that header back across goal. I think Kat Rapp there was just trying to bring it down, kind of bounced up and hit her in the hand. Unfortunate, but really good opportunity and a good cross nonetheless from Mackenzie Langdock. Good footwork from her outside there too.
You see it on the replay, just took the hop up and touched that left hand. Here's Ostrom with it now on the near side. She'll steer that back to Amanda Pourball. You said it early on, she hasn't been busy much this season, almost foreshadowing her workload so far today. Hasn't been busy much today.
No, but she is a player who wants to be on the ball still. Which is impressive as a goalie. She wants to be involved. She wants to get the ball, keep possession, help maintain that possession, and stay a part of the back line almost, which is a really, really important part of your back line and defensive, 5, if you will, including the goalie.
Ziedzik able to win the free kick for Chicago. Paige Ziedzik, the incoming freshman for the Pitt Panthers out of Chicago, Illinois. That ball didn't find the feet of Rodriguez, and it's cleared away by Minnesota. City trying to settle on a consistent attack. That disrupted, and now Kat Rapp with it. Hansen swings it out to win. Minnesota trying to turn the screws here. Rapp sends the shot toward the corner. It's in. Kat Rapp doubles the advantage.
What a phenomenal strike. I feel like we had the perfect angle from up here in the booth to be able to see her just hit a banger. The back post was open. She looked up. She saw it. She knew she wanted to hit that upper 90 far post. You can see her take a look there. No question she was going to hit that, and she just nailed it. What a fantastic strike. I love that goal. Kat Rapp, I think that's up for goal of the season maybe. That was a wonderful, wonderful strike.
A 2-0 lead at the reset. Kat Rapp with her 8th of the year. I'll tell you what, if Kat Rapp can replicate what she's done on the pitch this summer at the collegiate level next year, FIU might be in for a special season down in Miami.
She has been wonderful this season. I could not say enough good things about Kat Rapp.
Great challenge from Hansen. Now Rapp on it. Minnesota really asking questions of this defense. Into the middle. Hansen, Rapp, French, and stopped by Kaiser. That is a top-class save. That was marked for goal from Sophie French.
That really was. Whether it was coming from Maya Hansen or Sophie French or even Kat Rapp there was so many opportunities where that could have been a goal. And really, really good job by Kaiser to keep covering back and forth. She had both posts covered almost that whole time. There's a lot of zigzagging there, but really, really good attack by Minnesota Aurora. I think we're starting to see a little bit more of that rhythm coming through, a little bit more of that attacking finesse and fun that we're normally used to. Kat Rapp, though, is looking a little tired on the recovery. She just put in a lot of sprints there, so I think that is due time for her to take a second here and walk back into the field.
Ball goes forward to Stone, and Stone will leave it off for Langdock. A foot race here. French. Smart play from Ava Pattinson, the incoming Iowa Hawkeye, guides it out. Minnesota quickly takes that throw. Rapp. The shot buried near side. A brace completed for Kat Rapp in mere minutes.
I was watching Kat Rapp recover because she just walked from the 18 back to defense. The ball went forward again. She slowly started walking, then walked into a jog and received this ball here. This was her first bit of jog here, and then she scores. Just wonderful placement by her. Back-to-back goals. I mean, she is a wonderful player, and that's what speaks to her being able to do that. She knew exactly, all right, I got to get forward again, take the touch, score. I mean, wonderful. She's carrying the team on her back right now.
It's like an avalanche, this attack from Minnesota. When they get going, they just cannot be stopped. We've played an hour, and Minnesota has now found their third goal of the match.
And 15 minutes into this second half feels like an entirely different game from the first half. This feels like a totally different team, a different rhythm, a different momentum. This is more what we want to see from Minnesota Aurora.
A near 7,000 strong here at TCO Stadium, letting their voices be heard. Kat Rapp, 2 of Minnesota's 3 goals. Aurora are feeling it in this second half. Here's Langdock. French. That cross deflected.
And Chicago City really holding back in their defensive half here. There was only one player even sort of holding high there, which means that when Chicago City's trying to play out and there's nobody high, the whole team has to move together rather than being able to have one pass play them out.
Here's Hansen played through and buries it. It's 4-0 Minnesota.
And too easy. As I was saying, Chicago City having a really hard time playing out because they just didn't have any height. And that allows Minnesota Aurora to win the ball and get right back at them, get at their defensive line. What a wonderful run by Maya Hansen here. Sophie French just slipping the ball through to Maya at a great angle, pulling the keeper out, pulling Kaiser out just enough to slip it in, far post, wonderful finish, and Minnesota Aurora has found their stride.
Talk about setting the tone heading into the playoffs. I'm almost stunned. It's like we are seeing a completely different match than what we saw in the first 45 minutes. Whatever Nicole Lukic said in that Aurora locker room at the half clearly has worked.
I think this is what's really, really impressive about this team is even though it maybe took them 45 minutes, let's be real, to find their stride, they do find a way. Even in the first half, they went in with a 1-0 lead. Now they've really found their stride. We're starting to see them connect, be a little bit more clinical, be a little bit more clean, even have a little bit more fun on the ball, and all of a sudden that translates to goals. But 45 minutes of not great soccer didn't stress them out at all.
A free kick given off the foul against Chicago City. This from a very tight angle as Hansen will try to curl it in. Kaiser all over that one and snuffs out the danger. With that goal for Maya Hansen, that now vaults her into a 4-way tie for the third most goals in the league this season, with Meg Tate, Leah Howard, and Claire Manning. Rapp able to win it back. More numbers here for Minnesota. French's shot blocked. Rami Rapp's shot stopped by Kaiser, who has been extremely busy to start this second half.
Yes, I'm sure this is not exactly what Chicago City wanted coming out of halftime. I'm sure they wanted to be able to weather Minnesota Aurora's sort of storm again coming out of half, knowing that they do always come out the first couple of minutes with incredible amounts of energy looking to get to goal. I'm sure they were trying to sort of weather that again, and unfortunately just weren't able to do that as much as they were in the first half.
Kafusi gives it up to Ostrom as Aurora will attempt to build from the back here. Now Harris with it.
I do think that the changes Coach Lukic made in the attacking half specifically have made a difference in the cleanliness of keeping the ball in the attacking third. Maya Hansen is so good. I would say if that's one of her biggest strengths is being able to keep the ball, keep possession, check into an area where she can get it, and then lay it off to a midfielder, and then turn and go get it again. That is such a crucial role when you are trying to keep possession, especially in the attacking half. So I think that change specifically has made a really big difference.
French moving up the far side, has two defenders in her hip pocket. Cross was deflected, now Rapp's header wide of goal. A chance for a multitude of subs now. Callie Burrell will come in for Chicago City. Kylie Olsen, Del Moral, and Adler in for Minnesota. As Langdock, Kat Rapp, and Mariah Wynn all come off. A well-deserved ovation for that trio, especially Rapp.
I was going to say the same. Wonderful, wonderful play by all three of them. Mackenzie Langdock was instrumental in the first half in being able to create opportunities, even though the rest of things weren't going the way that Minnesota Aurora wanted them to. She is just an awesome amount of energy for any team to have to handle.
Immediately Minnesota on it. Adler slips that one through. It's 5-0 Minnesota.
And welcome to the game, Hannah Adler. I was wondering when Hannah Adler was going to make an appearance today. She's obviously chasing down Golden Boot for the team as well. Her first touch of the game happens to be a goal. That just tracks so much for the season that Hannah Adler has had.
Hannah Adler on the pitch for, I'm not even sure, 30 seconds, and adds to Minnesota's total. Taylor Kane will come in place of Amanda Porval. At the restart, 5-0. This second half continues to move at a frenetic pace for Aurora.
Yes, if anything, I think the energy is just getting faster and more high as the game has gone on. Maybe the temperature has slightly come down a little bit, so that's adding to it, but I also think there's confidence being built here. There's fun being had. The soccer's getting better. I think the second half has made the fans very happy.
That ball flicked on from Chicago, no one there, and it's back to Taylor Kane. The other teams in Minnesota's regional grouping come playoff time, Danny, you have to imagine they're watching this and thinking to themselves, what do? How do you stop this offensive juggernaut? We saw Chicago City really throw a lot at Minnesota in that first half, and then here they come in the second half completely unfazed.
Yeah, you almost do have to treat each half as a separate game. Chicago City goes into, let's just say, the first half or halftime, down 1-0. That's a pretty good result for them. And now the second half, they have to come out and treat it exactly the same. And unfortunately, here they are down 4-0 in this half. That's kind of how I would treat it, which makes it really difficult as an opponent to come in here and say, how do we handle this for 90 minutes?
Olsen with the interception, French with it. Now Harris some space to move. And move she will. That pass taken away. That was Soto who stepped in front. And no foul given.
Good tackle there by Sophie French. Actually just poking it away in the tackle, making it a pass. Really impressive.
Del Moral tried to hit Adler on the overlap, and it's out for a Kaiser goal kick. There's just something about this stadium when Minnesota plays here. All time entering today 13-1-1, regular season and playoffs included. 52-9 advantage in scoring. That will go up to 57 now with these 5 goals. Aurora are excellent on the road. They're unblemished on the road, 6-0-0 this year. But it's just something about that TCO magic, if you want to call it that they flip the switch.
Yeah, and I think having the home field advantage, especially when you're playing in front of a crowd like this, when you have the resources of playing on such a beautiful field in front of these fans and even a nice locker room, all of that stuff to come home to and call your own. I think there's a sense of pride in that Minnesota Aurora has that I don't think many other teams have.
French alone. French buries another. It's 6-0 Minnesota. The goals coming often.
That just had to be a goal. It was wonderful, wonderful build-up play. Just drawing players all out from Chicago City all over the field. Players, it was crisscrossing. Chicago City didn't know what to do there. Do I stay? Do I go? Wonderful finish by Sophie French. Hannah Adler, a really good slip-through pass. I mean, that was like a quintessential Minnesota Aurora goal that is built from the back, plays through the midfield, and then ends with a wonderful finish.
French now with 5 this year. That ball over the top. They were looking for Whiteside, and Harris just guided it back to Kane.
Talk about a confidence boost going into post play, though. I mean, this is exactly how you want your team to finish playing. Not even just the goals that are being had here. This second half is what Coach Lukic has been searching for all season. If anything, I would say this is one of the best halves we've seen Minnesota Aurora put together all season. And I'm sure that she's going to be really, really pleased with this performance specifically going into postseason. If they can remember this feeling, if they can remember, what it means to play like this, I think they'll be unstoppable.
Chicago City set to make another change. Leah Crotty, the sophomore out of Illinois State, set to check in. "11 of the league's 16 playoff spots already locked up entering today. The Central Conference already decided. Indy 11 out of the Valley, Minnesota out of the Heartland, Flint City, the hosts, out of the Great Lakes, and of course Chicago City, the wild card. The question becomes, how will the matchups shake out? I'm sure if you're Chicago City, at least the way this second half has been played, you probably don't want to see Minnesota again in less than a week.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. This is, we just went on about how Minnesota Aurora, this is exactly how you want to feel going into the postseason. That's the exact opposite for Chicago City is, this might be the first half. Maybe that's the conversation they were having is this is who we are. This is how we want to play going into postseason. This half, there's been a little bit more breakdown from them just defensively and quite honestly in the attack as well. They just haven't had as much rhythm, as much momentum, or even confidence in this second half. And that's definitely not something you want to see going into postseason.
Taking a look at the Larkin-Hoffman rules of the game. Another hydration break at the 75th minute mark. You talked about it in the first half, Danny, the importance of these hydration breaks. It's all about the health of the players.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it is hot out there. I think the temperature has come down maybe a little bit, but that's not to say that it is not just a roasting night out there on the field. And these women are running a lot of miles, and it is a pretty physical game. So it's much needed. I will say I think Chicago City, this probably really needed for them to regroup and take a few minutes to make some changes if needed, because they don't have that many subs available. I think they've probably made all of their subs at this point. So, what they have now is kind of what they have to work with. And I think for Minnesota Aurora, they're probably talking the opposite, is let's finish this out. Let's keep having some fun. Let's have a fun night in front of this crowd and, enjoy the weekend.
Right now, Chicago City with just one shot on goal for the entire match. Minnesota has done a good job this year, not just scoring goals, but limiting chances for the other team. They've held 6 of their last 8 opponents to 3 or fewer shots on goal. That trend looks like it will continue today. Going back to that postseason picture, I'll tell you, I think the most interesting postseason storyline, or at least right now, that could shake out is the wild card in the Eastern Conference. Right now, Cedar Stars looks to be in the driver's seat for that, but Christos FC is just 1 point back entering today of Cedar Stars for that wild card spot. All the others, you look at the Southern Conference, FC Miami City looks to be well in possession of that wild card. Cal Storm all but has the Western Conference wild card locked up.
Yeah, and these teams are all going to be new teams to Minnesota Aurora. So going into postseason, it's really going to be interesting to see how all of these games shake out and who comes through each of these different regions, if you will, to make it to the championship, the semis, all of that. It's going to be a fun postseason to watch. That'll be sure.
Minnesota does have a little experience with Indy 11, taking on Indy 11 last year in the playoffs and beating them here at TCO Stadium. Be interesting to see if those two end up progressing to that July 8th conference final, so to speak, before getting into the national playoffs. Back underway after the hydration break. Minnesota on it, at least for a moment.
And you did mention, just kind of going into that postseason talk, about the amount of goals that Minnesota Aurora has limited other teams to, and I will say that is due to the center backs, to Tiana Harris, to Kelsey Kafusi, to even Amanda Porbaugh, and keeping the back line organized. The back line has just been relentless throughout the season. I think they have made so little mistakes. They haven't given many teams other opportunities, and they're so difficult to break down just because they are so organized.
Stone, good run to win it back. Now Minnesota moving forward with it again. A whistle and a foul. Hansen got tangled up and will be tagged with that whistle. Another change set to be made here for Chicago City. Delisha Spence, the native of Toronto, Ontario. Another whistle and another foul. And now the change will be made as Spence will trot on. Attended Chicago State for a season, played majority of her career at Oral Roberts.
It looks a little bit like Chicago City might have made a formation change there. I'm not entirely sure with that sub. They had some players shifting around, I think trying to throw a little bit more pressure higher up the field. Just give them a little bit more of like some relief.
City quickly takes the throw, and Ostrom was there with the interception. Now Del Moral.
Again, Maya Hansen on the ball, popping in front of the defensive line, taking a few touches there just to relieve pressure and then connect with Morgan Stone. It opened up the whole field just with her movement and one connected pass there. For me, watching Maya, that is her superpower, I think. It's an unspoken, unnoticed, oftentimes unsung, heroic job, but she does a really, really great job of it.
Minnesota building again. Here's Adler weaving through. Ball leaks through. French, the shot! Upper 90 buried from Sophie French. 2 players, 2 braces for Minnesota. Now French gets in on the fun.
Good cross here. Maya Hansen doing a good job of at least putting some pressure. It kind of looked like there was a missed clearance there by Chicago City. Just bounced up. Landed at the feet of Sophie French here and just banged it home in the upper near post, upper 90. 2 for her. Unfortunately, there was no chance for Kaiser there to make a save.
7 goals today for Minnesota. They've now had score lines this year 10-0, 6-1, 8-1, and potentially 7-0. Talk about a way to put an exclamation point on the regular season. 6 second-half goals.
Yeah, I mean, going into halftime, there's no way that I thought this game was going to finish, with this many goals.
Nearly another for Minnesota, just inches wide.
But Minnesota Aurora has turned up the heat this second half. This has been a story of two very, very different games from the first half to the second half.
Spence clatters into Kafusi. It was out off of Minnesota, and the throw quickly taken. "45 minutes in, heading into the half." Danny, you and I both thought, wow, we are in for a real nail-biter of a season finale. And Minnesota very obviously had other ideas as we approach the 85th minute. It really does speak to the difficulty in playing a team like Minnesota, how they can just quick strike, jump on you. You talked about it having to take it a half at a time. I'm sure for the players, that's somewhat emotionally draining, having to look at the game maybe in a different way than what you're used to.
Yeah, I mean, when you're facing an opponent like Minnesota Aurora, I do think the best way to do it is take it half by half, because if you take it 90 minutes at a time, just so much can happen in that 90 minutes, and you have to sort of break it down to bite-sized pieces to be able to keep up with the amount of energy and level of play that Minnesota Aurora just consistently plays with. In saying that, I do think that this speaks to the maturity of Minnesota Aurora, as we said in the first half.
Aurora looking for another. That one fell through, and Ostrom will clean it up.
You know, they were just never shook by, even just scoring one goal or having difficulty scoring in the first half.
Adler able to battle off a challenge. Now Olsen, and Kaiser is there. Less than 5 minutes remaining until the full-time whistle. Fans beginning to head to the exits. 6,987. The official announced attendance, and that's great timing because I was getting ready to talk about the attendance. If you look at last week's NWSL attendance numbers and compare it with this Minnesota crowd, this would be the fourth largest attendance in the NWSL. You'd have San Diego over 22,000, in fact, over 22.5. Angel City 22 even, 20,300 just about for Portland, and then Minnesota just shy of 7,000. That's so impressive for a pre-professional women's soccer club.
It really, really is so impressive. I can attest to it. I have played in stadiums in the NWSL where, it felt at times like even just 100 fans. And granted, that was many years ago, but I love to see how much the community has embraced this, how much women's soccer has grown across the United States and honestly across the globe as well. You see teams in Europe that are filling, gigantic stadiums at this point, bringing 80,000 fans. So I love that that's the future of women's soccer, and I hope that Minnesota Aurora can continue to keep growing alongside that.
City tried to clear it. Adler with the interception. It was poked away. Now Stone has a go of it, and that's way over the bar. I know it's about the players on the pitch, but Danny, for you yourself being a former player, I mean, what does it mean to you personally to see the way so much emphasis has been put on the women's soccer game and how it has exploded, not just in this country, but worldwide?
Well, I mean, it's a wonderful feeling to see that, the community especially embraces your team, embraces you. I was lucky enough to play for Portland Thorns, and they had from the beginning of the NWSL one of the best if not at the time, the best women's soccer attendance in the world. And that just made me have so much pride in the city and the fans and what I was doing, and the fact that I was a professional soccer player. It made me feel like I had made it somewhat. And I think that's a similar experience for these women here, even at this level, to play in front of it. It's like, you know, you're a part of it and you're making history, and that's a really cool thing to be a part of.
Kafusi quickly took the free kick. As we close in on the waning moments of this match, the waning moments of the regular season, there's been so many great moments here at TCO Stadium that we've seen. Danny, if you had, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. If you had to pick one, what would you say has been your favorite so far of the regular season?
Oh, wow, that really is a hot seat. But I honestly, I think tonight, Kat Rapp's goal is really up there for me. That was a banger of a goal. I just felt like that was so well placed. You saw her pick her head up, pick out the far post, even the upper 90. I feel like you could see that happen, and then it was perfectly placed. But in saying that, Minnesota Aurora has had so many wonderful moments. They've had so many outstanding goals. I mean, and I could not claim to remember all of them. But, it's been a really, really fun season. I will say defensively as well, there's been moments of possession that are just so impressive, and individual footwork, individual play. This season has been really fun to be a part of.
I would not fault you if you could not remember all of the goals. There's been 60 of them now, so I think that's very understandable, as Minnesota will have to throw. There will be 3 minutes of added time at the end of this second half.
Maybe for us as a broadcast team, the game moved indoors.
Oh, yeah. That was. Talk about having to be flexible. Nicole Lukic says it about her team being adaptable. Hey, we're adaptable too as broadcasters.
That was a fun game, though.
It really was.
Yeah.
Goal kick coming for Chicago City. Minnesota minutes away from closing out the regular season with a plus 54 goal differential. That, if it holds up, will go down as the best regular season goal differential in USLW history. I say if that holds up. Last year, it was Long Island who posted a plus 38. So Minnesota, I think they are safe in that regard. But it just really puts things into perspective about how dominant this team has been.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, this squad has been relentless in their goal-scoring mentality. They've been that from day one. We've talked about it probably more than anything else on this, as Coach Lukic has said from the beginning, we are a team that wants to score goals, and if we give up goals in that, it's okay because we're going to score more. And she has maintained that. She's given every player at this point, I think, minutes on the field.
A foot race here. Hansen can't get to it.
Yeah, she has stood by every single thing that she wanted to bring about this season. And I think it just speaks to her trust in her team. And in the other direction, I think it speaks to the team's trust in her to say, we're all about this. We're all in. We're going to follow this, follow your mission, follow your goals for this team. And they're standing by it.
Harris, good run defensively, and Del Moral just couldn't keep it in. On the other side for Chicago City, you have to give City SC their props. This will bring about an end. 384 consecutive days City SC went without a defeat on the road. That is an impressive mark. In fact, the last time Chicago lost away, this building to this team.
Yeah, that was, I mean, a full season ago at this point. So, that's pretty crazy numbers for Chicago City. It speaks to the level of play that they have maintained throughout the season. I mean, coming in second in this division is really difficult, and they have risen to the occasion. As you mentioned as well, I think that this team is substantially better than they were last season, and I hope continues to keep growing in the future.
French has it out wide. Yeah, but a shake free of one defender. Official looking at the clock. And we have a player down. Looked like she might have been going for the whistle, but instead an injury stoppage.
I think she was actually looking to blow the whistle for the injury. Instead, Minnesota Aurora let it go out of bounds as a sort of fair play there.
Training staff ushered onto the pitch.
I think it's a cramp, but that makes sense in this kind of heat. 90 minutes. The back line for Chicago City has done a ton of running, especially this second half.
While we do have a break in play, looking at the playoff host sites for this upcoming playoffs next week, the Central Conference playoffs already determined. That will take place in Flint, Michigan at Atwood Stadium at Kettering University. Eagle FC has been awarded the Eastern Conference playoff hosting July 7th through the 9th at Main Stadium at Mountain View School. Southern and Western conferences yet to be determined.
A lot of action still to be had.
Training staff continuing to work on Fernanda Soto, the junior out of NC State.
And Chicago City just playing it back there in an equal gesture of fair play to Minnesota Aurora, because Minnesota Aurora let the ball go out there.
Full time at TCO Stadium. The sellout crowd of nearly 7,000 treated to 7 goals from the USLW's #1 team, Minnesota Aurora. For the first time in USLW history, 0 losses and 0 draws during the regular season. They head to the playoffs 12-0-0. City drops to 8-3-1. Danny, your thoughts just overall on what we've seen today?
This is a perfect way for Minnesota Aurora to finish out the season. They are firing on all cylinders. They were scoring goals. They were tight defensively. They were composed even in the first half when things weren't going the way they wanted them to. It was just a wonderful finish to